Hey, I'm Tony, and today we're going to install the rear remote kit. It's a dual rear remote kit on the TYM 2515. Let's get to it. Do you deserve a new toy? Mama thinks you do. We got the silly sound more fun squawkers. He got you a new toy. You got a new toy? I don't know if he likes the sound. I think he thinks he's hurting it. So looking at the kit, it doesn't feel very intimidating. I've already kind of placed these around just to make sure I knew where they go. This kit does not come with instructions, so this, use this. This is your instruction. The kit comes with the mounting brackets. Now these mounting brackets will mount up it'll mount like this and mount the controls to the frame or the frame of the tractor. It comes with a bag full of nuts and bolts and the little rubber stops to plug in to keep your keep the dirt out of your rear remotes. And then it comes with the actual valve assembly, and this valve assembly already has the valve controls mounted. Like I said, it doesn't look overly intimidating. So let's give it a shot. Again, there's no directions with this, so I think we're going to go ahead and mount the bracket against the transmission housing. And it looks like, according to the way I read it, there's going to be, when I say read it by looking at it, there's four bolts that hold this in. Now for some reason, there's 8 bolts here, and for the life of me, I can't figure out why, unless, well, I know there's going to be 2 more that go here. Yeah, maybe it's just a couple extra bolts in the kit. So yeah, I see a place for 6 bolts at this point. So this is the way I believe it's going to work. It looks pretty cut and dry. You have 2 of there's 6 smaller boats and 2 larger boats. The 2 larger boats are going to be the ones that mount down at the bottom into the side of the transmission, and the 2 top boats are going to be the ones that mount into the 2 smaller ones are going to mount into the top of the transmission. Now it seems like they have sent some extra bolts, and I wonder if it's possibly because this little piece is already mounted on. It looks like it has 2 possible positions depending on which tractor it is, whether it'll mount here or here. And the fact that this is already mounted on, I probably would think this is for this tractor, but when we go to line everything up, we'll make sure. It looks like there's an option to mount it here or here, depending on which tractor you have. There's probably several variations, and instead of having the 2 kits, they just give you the parts for both. So there's 1 bolt hole right here, and then there's another bolt hole right here. Those are the ones on the top. And down at the bottom, you can't see it probably with the camera, but there's 2 bolt holes. There are 2 bolt holes right here, and those are the big bolts on the side. I have to figure out how to wiggle this in here. Rotate like that. Just sit right there. I'm pretty sure, yeah, these are going to be mounted on that rear little bracket. Probably some models are a little bit different. It would probably be easier to do this if you took the seat off, but why do it easy when you could do it hard? That's just what I'm saying. It's the way I roll. Oh, well, maybe I will do it because I just dropped that. That's why they give you the extra bolts. So what I'm going to do after just looking at this, instead of struggling with this, it's 4 nuts that need to be removed to take the seat off and just have direct access to this. I think that's the better way to go. The beautiful thing is the head of the bolts are welded in, so you don't have to worry about 2 wrenches, just the top one. So I noticed right off the bat when we started doing this that there was a dirt dauber had made a nest in this bolt hole already. So I had to clean that out. Just use some carburetor cleaner. Starter fluid is what I'm using. Just to remove 4 nuts to do this. That's going to be a lot easier now. I can just work right over the top of it from the back. Definitely works. Seat's heavy though. We'll say that. Good heavy built seat. But everything seems to be put together really, really good. heavy built, but it's easy to access. All right, so we got those started. Now the two big bolts come in from the top or from the side into the transmission housing on the side. They're already pre-tapped. I was thinking about that. That might be a good idea. When this little bracket was welded up, it may have flexed just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is loosen it up, two pieces up. So it has a little bit more flexibility. And then maybe that will make it a little easier putting the bolts in at the bottom. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're shooting for. Push these wires down out of the way. Oh yeah, that's totally different then. That bolt just started going right in. Yeah, having that loosened up made all the difference. I think that these were 12 millimeters. So we loosen these two up so it would make it easier to mount the lower brackets. So now make sure that you don't forget to tighten these back up or they will back themselves out. So what it is, I put a little drip pan up onto this. I don't know how much oil that we're going to lose, but I know we will lose some oil. So this tractor came with a backhoe, but not rear remotes. So from that, and when they do that, they do this little loop, they add a loop in here. Normally this line right here would be going to this fitting, and this fitting would be rotated towards the front. But because they added this on for the backhoe, they rotate this around and add these two extra lines right here. So we're going to be disconnecting these two extra lines right now. Hopefully it won't be too much oil. Probably, I'd say probably a pint or so in these lines. Got that other line draining down into that catch pan. So, so that's going to keep it from making a big giant mess. All right, so these two hoses will no longer be used. But if you want to keep them around for whatever maybe coming up in the future, you can just screw them together and keep the dirt out of them. Now what we're going to do is remove these two bolts right here. And this is just a block with a port in it that allows the fluid to come in and go down through here. This goes where the pressure goes into the transmission to run the the three-point hitch up and down. So your pressure line comes from the hydraulic pump and will go in here and down into the transmission. All we're doing is placing the rear remotes in between this plate and down below, and what that's going to allow is when we use the lever, if we pull the lever, it's going to divert this flow to your rear remote, and then when you release it back to the neutral position, it will cause it to go back down into the transmission and be able to power your your three-point hitch. Gosh, that was a lot to say. Yeah. Plus my wife's yawning up here behind the camera. All right, here we go. You don't think this is interesting?
No.
It's freaking awesome.
I'd rather pull weeds in the greenhouse.
I'd rather pull weeds. These are pretty long bolts. Now, be careful. Under this, there's 3 rubber O-rings that have to be reused. So, don't lose them.
Or you have to go back to the store and get some.
Now, you'll have to go back to the store and get some. Be willing to bet these are probably metric, too. We'll go ahead and pull these bolts out completely. We'll turn this over carefully and not lose our rear remote. I mean our O-rings. These bolts here, you won't use them anymore.
Put it to your boat collection.
Yeah, add it to your boat collection. I feel it come loose. There's the O-ring still on the block. We're just going to take this block and set it right here out of the way with the O-rings up. This is the point where you really want to be careful and not get dirt into this. Now,
or you have a hot mess.
Or you kill your tractor. So here's your valve body, and there's already two big studs that are mounted in here. I don't have a stud room. I don't have a stud driver, so I may have to jam two nuts together. The O-rings are already in place, so keep that in mind as well. The O-rings seem to be stuck in there really well, so they're not coming out. Oh yeah, gotta get my valve lined up right, and this gotta go under this.
So you saying I was correct?
Well, maybe. All right, I'm gonna go look up under this, make sure I have not knocked the O-rings off. All right, all my O-rings are in place. I'm trying to hold all this weight up over here on this side. I'm just gonna put these two bolts in here loosely. All right, so that should help hold that weight up and not have me trying to hold all this again. So if you ever need to put a stud in, but you don't have the actual stud driver, you can take two nuts and lock them to each other, and that'll allow you to drive that in, or use a ratchet. All right, now we got the front one started. I'm gonna take these all the way down. Bottom them out. I gotta tighten my jam nut a little bit. You don't have to like go crazy tight on this, but you want that stud to pretty much be to the very bottom. Now I got that one completely bottomed out. I'll take this jam nut apart. Yeah, that was the actual hardest part right there. Now we're doing this in the field. We're what I call the field. We're over at the farm. We don't have all the proper tools, so I'm basically making this happen. Kind of a field repair, which probably we shouldn't have had, because we had the opportunity to bring this tractor back home and work on out of my shop, and that would have probably been a little better. But I'm tore it apart now, so there ain't no going back. And again, this ain't hard. This is not hard. It's just I've never done this specific thing before on this tractor. So, and there's no directions that come in the box. I'm having to kind of figure it out so that you guys don't have to. The dealer has a manual, and I'm sure I could have called somebody and they'd stick me a copy of it or something, or at least a page out of it. But I didn't. All right, let's get to the bottom. So we've got our studs in, and now we got our cap here, and the fitting that's on it goes to the driver's side of the tractor, if you will. Slide that down. Make sure those O-rings are in there. Here we go with the two lock washers that come with the kit, and then the two nuts that we just took off. So we're going to tighten these down. You're going to snug one side, don't clamp it. And go back to the other one, work it down. And that, what it'll do is cause your O-rings to evenly seat. So go to this one, I feel it kind of snug there. Go back to this one, feel it snug a little bit. And what we're doing is we're seating those O-rings. So now we have our valve body on. We'll go ahead and tighten these up over here on this side and just get them out of the way, and we'll be done with this part. One of those with just enough pressure to that it won't screw in by hand, but almost. So this is a jam nut right here. What we're going to do is take this jam nut. Well, they tighten the crap out of it. Rotate this over. See if I can get this started. Don't want to cross thread it for sure. When you're doing this, make sure you don't cross thread it. Just go slow. It shouldn't be any pressure hardly at all. Once you got it tight, then you got to remember to tighten up this jam nut so that it pushes that O-ring in and causes it to stay tight and not leak. Talk to me to talk and work at the same time. We just add music to all this, right? Okay, so I did go ahead and run the line up under the seat right here. I feel like there's enough room, it's not touching. And then on top of that, where it could touch is the metal part of the line, so I feel pretty good about it. I think it's gonna be fine. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking these valves loose. I'm gonna take the top two completely off out of the way, and then I'm gonna clock these because right now they're clocked coming out. This kit fits multiple tractors, so we don't know which one this thing was clocked for originally, but it's obviously not this one because when this 3-point hitch raises up, it's gonna hit this. So we're gonna clock these around like this, and that will give that clearance. But it's gonna be easier for me just to remove the top two and then clock the bottom ones, and then we'll go back and put the top two back on. Again, like I said, this kit fits a whole bunch of different tractors, so it's not like it's just for this tractor. So there's variations of each tractor. So when you clock into these back and you're tightening them down, you gotta take your 1 wrench and hold the line while you're tightening the line in the back, because otherwise you'll lose your clock. Your clocking, you don't wanna lose your clocking. So when I got through, I have one line that's just a little bit, I mean, it's not bad, it works, but it's a little close to these two right here. So that line that you took off, you could just take it, load it in, and then gently, don't go crazy, just nudge it over. A little slight bend, no big deal. Now everything is. So we installed 2 different valves, and the way this one comes set up is the top valve is your detent valve. And what I mean by detent, if you click it into place, it stays. That turns the power on to your backhoe or anything that needs like a log split or something that needs permanent power going all the time. You detent it whichever way you need it to go, whichever top or whichever valve you need to come out of. Now the bottom one is what we call a free float, so you can just barely push it and it'll go back to the center, and either way it's going to come back to the center. Right now it's still really tight and new. I'm going to put some oil on this and it should do a lot better, and once it's under pressure it's going to probably do a lot better too. So your top and bottom valves are separate circuits. The black 2 bottom ones will be black. Let you know it's the same circuit. These 2 work together. These 2 work together. Okay, that's the way it should look. So before we button all this up, I'm going to go ahead and test each circuit to make sure that it's working. And I'm just going to use my hydraulic tilt cylinder as my as my tool. So we'll pop this out. We're gonna start with the bottom one first. Just gonna have a little bit of air in it. We'll go ahead and crank this thing up and run it through its paces. All right, again, this is the bottom valve, so it's gonna be on the bottom valve on mine, it's gonna be the inside controller. I'm not promising you it's gonna be the same on every one. Let's see what happens. We're gonna be going, the cylinder should move in and out. Any leaks? Anything around the bottom there? Alright, here we go. That cylinder should go in and out. So what I'm doing here, I just turned the tractor off and I'm releasing any pressure off of the valve so I can disconnect it. Drop that bottom one, put our plug back in, take the top one. Take the bottom one out, put the plug back in, and drop it. Now we're going to test this next one. And this is the outside controller. This has a detent. So what I mean by detent, when you pull it back, it locks into place. See what I'm talking about? This is neutral. Forward goes out one direction. Back to neutral. Rear goes out the other direction and lock. It stays in. So it's giving continuous hydraulic flow to whatever you're running. So this will be the one that you run your backhoe on. And depending on which hose you put in which way you're going to flip the backhoe lever. So what we'll do, and you can still run a rear remote off this, or a rear remote implement like this valve. What happens is when you put it in detent to have the cylinder come out, when it gets to where you want it to go, you literally have to manually pull it back because it's going to stay deadheaded.